To create a track, go to Admin Controls and click on the Tracks panel under Program Management and click on the Add Track button. For now, for this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a track on one that I have already created. So the first step in creating a track is the Track Basics section, which will allow you to create the track card that will display in the dashboard and the library. So first, give your track a title and a subtitle. The track title appears under your track image, and the subtitle is just a short description that appears under your title. Next, assign a category to your track. What category best fits this track so it's easy for your users to find it in their library. Next, add an icon or upload your own artwork. If you're creating your own cards, just make sure the cards are 600 by 240 pixels, and you always will find a reminder of the dimensions here on this section. Once you have created your card, let's go to track settings. Under your settings, you'll find all of the different functionality that you can control for in this track. First, decide what type of track you are creating. In this tutorial, we are going through the standard tracks, but if you go to your library and your tutorials and guides, you will find a full track devoted to how to create live events and another one for how to create tin can tracks. So for standard tracks, the first option you have is deciding whether this track has a deadline. If so, just click yes, add a deadline and a specific time when the track expires, and decide whether you're going to allow your users to post responses past the deadline. This is a way to have deadlines, which the main advantage of a deadline is that the system will email your users automatically a reminder 24 hours before the track is due. So it's a nice way to have some automatic reminders for your users. And if you want to allow responses, just click this, right? It's just a way to add a little bit more flexibility to your members. Next is deciding whether you would like to display a progress bar on your track cards, which I strongly recommend. It allows your users to see where they're at in the progress of a track. As you can see here, the tracks that I have started have a progress bar activated. So that is a control that you have. Next, deciding whether you want your members to complete their track in order as one action at a time, or if it doesn't matter and it can be completed in any order. And next is deciding whether this track is intended for teams or individuals. A team track is designed so that when any member of a team on your platform completes an action, it counts as completed to everyone on the team, whereas individual tracks have to be completed by each individual member of a team. Next is deciding whether this track has a prerequisite. So for example, if this track is the number 2 on my list, perhaps I want to make track number 1 the prerequisite for track number 2. This means that the user won't be able to begin track number 2 until they complete track number 1. Next is deciding whether this track will be viewable to the public. This is specific to the WordPress plugin, which we have also a tutorial on how to activate the WordPress plugin. Look it up if you're interested in building a library on your website. And the next option allows you to choose whether this track is exclusive to groups. This means that if a track is exclusive to groups, it will not display in the overall library of your platform. It will only display in the groups that you assign it to. And finally, if this track is to be displayed on library and not just in groups, you can decide who can view this track. Is this for all teams, for all roles, or is it for specific teams, right? You can see here, you can assign a track to a specific team tag or to specific teams within your network. And the same goes to roles. If you want to limit who can view this, for example, if I'm saying this track is just for staff, then just select the role that it's intended for. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to make it visible to everybody. Next comes your track overview. This is an optional section on your platform, on your track, but it allows you to add an introduction to your track. If you want to add an intro, just go ahead and enter it in the track description and then move on to the next step, which is adding your actions. And as you know, an action can be an activity, a learning module, a resource, a report, etc. So when you're ready to build your track actions, start by giving it a title. In this case, I am building a tutorial. So this is a tutorial for what are general settings. In the action description, this is a regular text editor. So here's where you will add your text, your images, your videos, anything you would like to embed from a PDF or a Google folder, etc. So here you can see I have added a GIF and some text. If you want to add images, click on add an image and upload from your website. And then feel free to look through the different editing components of the editor to learn more about embedding videos, Google Drive elements, and anything else through an iframe. Look for a tutorial under your library devoted specifically to embedding items to your tracks. And finally, let's scroll down a little bit here. You have an option for adding additional resources to your track and selecting what kind of response you are collecting. If it's a reflection, a rating, just a complete button, or a custom form. If you are collecting a reflection, you can add a reflection prompt, which will appear under the text box in your reflection. And you can choose if this reflection is optional, if you require text reflection, attachment, either or both. You can also require admin approval when your users complete an action, which means as an admin, you will be emailed to review the response before it is awarded as completed for the user, or to reject it or hold it with some feedback if the user needs to work on it further. You can also choose who can view the user responses on the track, on the action track. If it's meant for everybody, just for the user's team, or if a response is more private, perhaps it's more suitable to be viewable just by the author and the admins of the platform. You can also limit the number of actions that, the number of times that an action can be completed. You know, if you're collecting, you know, send me photos of 5 events, right? You can have the action repeat 5 times and so on. There's additional settings you can choose from, like whether an action is marked as high priority, which adds a red dot on the left. And finally, you can add an additional deadline to the action itself, which also sends an email reminder to the user, reminding them that the action is due in 24 hours. And just like this, you know, continue adding the different actions on your track. If you want to save it as a draft to continue to work on later, click on Save as Draft. If you're ready to publish your track, just click on Publish Track and you are done.